Hey y'all, I'm Emily, the Shady Grove Stitcher, and I love creating beautiful hand-stitched pieces. Welcome to the Pink Room, where I share my love of cross-stitch by showcasing projects I've completed in my quest to fill an antique cabinet my husband and I inherited from my in-laws. Hey y'all, thanks for joining me for Flosstube number 1. Today we are going to talk about Little House Needleworks, the pet store. I think it is so cute. If you're not familiar with the series, it's the hometown holiday series. I think she has 20 or 22 different patterns. I have all of them. I've done none of them except for this one. This was my very first stitch ever, and it's the only one in the series that I've completed, but I look forward to doing all the others. I would do it completely different. If I started today, I would do it completely different, but this was my first piece, and so I just wanted to share it with you. I'm not sure if it'll be better for me to hold it up or if it'll be better for me to pop a picture over the screen, but I think it turned out darling. I used all of the called for DMC. She does call for some fancy floss. So she calls for fancy floss for the green in this tree, and then the bark over here and the roof. Those 3 different colors she called for fancy floss. And if I was going to do it again, I'd probably use the fancy floss. I have learned since then, I did this in 2020. And I've since learned that I really like fancy floss. But for a starter piece, not knowing if I even like cross stitch, I just went with DMC because it was really inexpensive. The pattern also calls for 30 count portobello linen. I didn't use portobello linen. I used, let me check, 14 count raw linen Aida by Zweigart. I think it was a great choice. Mine finished a little bit larger, just a hair, 14 count would be 28 in linen. So it's a little bit larger. They say these are ornaments. I will put it next to my head. Maybe y'all have giant ornaments at your house. This seems big to me for an ornament. Obviously it's not fully finished either. But we're all on a journey, and fully finishing and we're not getting along. So let's talk about some of the stuff I liked. Some of the stuff I didn't like, what I learned, because that's what I want to do on this channel. I want to encourage people to make cross stitch their own. So my background is in quilting. I never used a quilt pattern. And when I started cross stitch, I thought that it was going to be really boring that my piece was the exact same as everybody else's. Well, that's not true. It's not the exact same. People choose different floss, people choose different linen, people do different finishing. It's never going to be the exact same. But I also watch a lot of Flosstube, and y'all are remarkable in the amount of stitching you do in a week or 2 weeks, however often you're releasing your episodes. I feel like y'all are speed stitchers, and I am for sure not a speed stitcher. And I want people to know that that's okay. I want them to know it's okay to make mistakes. I want everybody to know that we're all learning, and as long as you're having fun, you're doing a great job. That's really what's most important. So things that worked for me on this project, I'm not an Aida stitcher. I'm not, as it turns out. I really love linen. I really love high count linen, like 36, 40 count is my jam. If it looks like it's rusty or disgusting, I'm really into it. But there's also a balance, right? Because I super want my floss to show up well on my fabric, and that can be a little bit tricky. So for a starter piece, I thought that this raw Aida worked out really great. I have no idea what portobello linen looks like. I have no idea how I came up with this particular Aida, but it worked. And something that I really like about it is it's got flecks in it. It's not a flat color. It's not like it's just beige or white. It's got a bit of depth to it. The holes are, I would say, rather large. Now, you need to understand that I'm saying that as somebody who likes high count linen. So maybe to you, they are not that large. And that was something I sort of fretted about in the beginning. Like, am I gonna like that the linen that the Aida that you can see the holes, but you really can't. Like when you're back away from it, nobody's gonna put their nose on this. They can't tell. I think it looks really nice. So for a starter fabric, 14 count Aida was a recommendation to me, and I think it was primo. I chose one, like I said, that added depth and texture. So I think that there are options out there. You're not limited to just what's at Hobby Lobby. Nothing against Hobby Lobby, but you know, they have basics. They have white, black, cream. And so, you know, bite the bullet, call 123 Stitch, call Fat Quarter Shop, hop online, get something that looks like you want it to look. And I think that's a really great direction for a beginner stitcher. Some things about this piece in particular that I really liked are the swag that's over the door, but I really love this little loopy greenery across the top of the building. I think it's really cute. And I also really love the bone over the door. So my husband and I really love dogs. And this just really kind of spoke to my heart. I love seeing all the animals in the window. I think it's really super cute. So I think when you are picking your first cross stitch piece, picking something that you really love is super helpful. Somebody recommended to me that I pick something small. I mean, do you think that's small? I don't know if I think this is small. The stitch count is 76 by 53, so maybe that's small. I felt like it was a good size. I felt like it was a really good size. I don't think it's ornament sized. I mean, technically this is supposed to be an ornament. I think that's a really big ornament. I mean, I'd probably do it as a flat fold. We'll talk about finishing in just a hot second. So things that I learned. Counting is hard. Counting is hard. And if you can finish a piece and every single stitch be perfect, man, you're just a magician, because I am not that person. I remember when I was stitching this tree, one of these little branches up here is like one stitch too close to the roof. And y'all, I really thought it was the end of the world. I did. I thought it was the end of the world. I thought I had ruined the whole piece because the stitching was too close to the roof. Nobody knows. Nobody is going to come in here with the pattern and be like, hey, Emily, this is not quite right. It's not realistic. So if you're a new stitcher, cut yourself some slack. Nothing's perfect. As long as you're happy with it, really, that's all that matters. The other thing, the stitches are a little lumpy. Okay, so it calls for ecru. It's not white, but I didn't know about railroading yet. So I learned to stitch from Kimberly Jolly via Cross Stitch University. She has this fabulous series. It's free of charge. It's on YouTube. I'll link it below so that you can check it out if you want to, if you're a new stitcher. But she talks about railroading, and I feel like it's a game changer for getting your light colored stitches to lay flat. So, you know, if I were going to do it again, I'd probably railroad. If I was doing it 2/2, this is 2/2. To be honest, I'd probably do it on a higher count linen and do it with one thread. But you know, from a preference perspective, I would change the floss. I would definitely use the called for floss. And again, this is not, I mean, it's cute. But I think if I had used fancy floss for the trees and for the roof, that it would have added a little bit of depth. This is not bad. I'm super pleased with it. But if I were going to do it again, I think I'd splurge for the fancy floss. That's something to balance every time we do a project, right? Now, if you've been doing it a while and you have a stash, then it's no big deal. But if you're just starting out, it's fine to use the DMC. The DMC is still going to give you something totally adorable that you're super pleased with. Zero complaints about going with the DMC. If you stick with it, sometimes consider splurging on the fancy floss. Okay, I was going to tell you what I would do differently. I already told you I would do it on a higher count linen. I already told you I'd do it on the fancy floss. So I did all this planning, and I've already covered it because I can't stick to my outline. Oh boy. Let's talk about fully finishing. I am so terrible at fully finishing. Terrible. Plus I kind of hate it. So as you can tell, I have not fully finished this, right? I finished this in 2020. It's just been sitting around since then. Part of it is that I can't figure out what to do with it because I'm not a great finisher. Chantal with Chantal's 141 Design Company, brilliant finisher. Lori Holt, the queen of finishing. She is just the best as far as I'm concerned. Some people really have a talent for it. I do not have that talent. Not at all. There are some people that all they do is offer finishing services. I mean, I'm sure they do stitching in their own, on their own, but they offer finishing services. And I really think that's something I'm going to consider in 2025, because what happens is I finish something, I can't figure out how I want to finish it, or I don't want to invest the time in it, or I start finishing it and I get super frustrated. Sorry for my dog and his snoring. And then it just sits in the closet. So even though I would not stitch this the same way today, I am really proud that I did this. I am really proud that somebody with no knowledge of cross stitch, I went to the store, I bought the floss, I got the pattern, I got the cloth, I had no idea what I was doing, and somehow I made this. And I think that's worthy of celebration. I hope if you have things in your closet that you're like, meh, maybe I'm not in love with it, that you will consider finishing yours. I also really super hope that you have some genius ideas of what I can do with this. At a minimum, I need to put my initials and the year I finished it on there so that I can sort of freeze it in time. But okay, I just want you to imagine this with me. Let's say you stitch all of the hometown holiday pieces. There are, like, I don't have anything that tells me. I mean, look at this. Sorry for the rattle. I know some people are really anti-rattle. Look at this. Look at all these. There are a ton of these, okay? Let's say I stitch all of them, which is my plan, and I'd love to. What am I going to do with 20 of them? So let's think long term. How might I fully finish these? Put it in the comments below. I'd love to hear what you have to say. If you finished them, how you did it, where you display them, because I really love the idea of decorating the house completely with stitched pieces for the holiday, but I'm just sort of stuck on what to do. So if you've got some thoughts or guidance, send it my way, because I need some help. That's it for me today, guys. Thanks for hanging out with me. I hope I inspired you in some way. If you enjoyed today's video, I'd appreciate it if you'd hit the thumbs up button to let me know that you're into this content. I hope you'll subscribe to my channel so that we can spend more time together in the future. Next time, we're going to talk about 'Tis the Season by Little Dove Designs. Apparently, I was on a Christmas kick there in the beginning, but I'm taking you chronologically through my stitching journey, and that's what's next on the docket. So I'll see y'all in the next video. Talk to you later. Love you. Bye.